All right, let's talk about the Kappa Alpha Society. Today, we're tearing into a brutally honest evaluation of this really unique fraternity. We're going to look at its history, its social scene, what it's actually worth in the real world, all based on this fascinating deep dive review. The goal? To figure out what this place is really all about? Let's do it. So when you hear the word frat, what's the first thing that pops into your head? Come on, be honest. It's probably something straight out of Animal House, right? Toga parties, chanting, guys making some, let's say, questionable choices on a roof with a keg. Yeah, that's a stereotype, and it is powerful. Okay, but here's the twist. What if the very first social fraternity, the one that started it all in North America, was the complete opposite of that image? I mean, what if the original blueprint for the entire Greek system was basically designed to be an anti-frat, by the standards we have today?
And that's where we're going to start. Section 1, the original anti-frat frat. To get what makes KA so different now, you have to go all the way back. So picture this. It's 1825. We're at Union College in New York, and the Kappa Alpha Society is born. And look, this isn't just some fraternity. This is the first Greek letter social society on the entire continent. It came before every single stereotype we think of when we hear frat. But having that kind of history, man, it's a real double-edged sword. On the one hand, yeah, you've got this incredible pioneer status. There's a certain prestige that comes with it, especially in these really specific intellectual circles. But on the other hand, being the first means you're stuck in this old tradition. It can feel kind of rigid, and you just don't get the same mainstream hype as the bigger, newer frat. Okay, so that's the history lesson, but let's get down to brass tacks. Prestige versus paycheck. What does all that history and prestige actually get you once you're out in the real world? What's the bottom line on a KM membership? So how much of a boost does this network actually give your career? Well, the source material slaps an alumni value score on it, and it's a 55 out of 100. Now, that's interesting. It's not a fail, but it's for sure not a golden ticket to Easy Street. It tells you the benefit here is, well, it's complicated, and here's why. The network isn't huge, but it is super targeted. If you're planning on going into academia, public policy, or law, yeah, the connections are there and they run deep. But if you think this is your fast track to Wall Street or Hollywood, not so much. At the end of the day, it's still on you. The frat letters might get your foot in the door, but you're the one who has to walk through it. All right, let's shift gears to what life is actually like in the chapter today. Section 3, debates over dares. I mean, what's the vibe? Is it all serious discussion, or is there more to it? Yeah, when you look at party culture, the gap between KA and your typical frat is massive. If you're looking for those epic ragers, this ain't the place. The source nails the vibe perfectly. It's less all-day bender in a sweaty basement, and way more library during the day, scotch, and deep talks at night. In fact, the source puts a number on this. For stereotypical frat lifestyle experience, KA scores a 39 out of 100. Whoa. That score is basically a giant flashing warning sign. If you're here chasing that movie version of Greek life, the nonstop parties, the tailgates, the chanting, this is absolutely not the fraternity for you. And this quote from the source just sums it up perfectly. They're known as the gentleman intellectual of the frat world, not the jock or the wild child. That is a very specific brand. It's a vibe they cultivate, and it's not about being the loudest dude at the party. Okay, but what about the social scene? Specifically dating. Does being a gentleman intellectual actually help? Well, the source gives their chance of scoring and hooking up with chicks a 44 out of 100. That number alone tells you membership isn't some kind of automatic cheat code. Now, on the one hand, maybe that whole intellectual thing is attractive to people who are sick of the typical frat bro, but the source is really clear on this. When it comes down to it, your success depends on your own game, not the Greek letters on your shirt. Okay, so if it's not the ragers and it's not automatic social status, then what's the point? Well, that brings us to the absolute core of any fraternity, the Brotherhood. And let me tell you, the source uses a very unique way to measure it. Next up,
the Brotherhood scorecard.
So to measure this, the source busts out this really unique tool called the homoerotic level scale. Now, hold on. Let's be super clear. This has absolutely nothing to do with sexuality. It's just a playful, kind of modern way to measure the intensity of male friendship. You know, bromance. Think of it like a scale from 1 to 10. Down at the low end, you've got guys who are basically just distant roommates. At the high end, you've got that super over-the-top, theatrical, almost performative bonding.
So on this pretty wild 10-point scale, where does Kappa Alpha actually land? The source gives it a 3.8. Now, I know, 3.8 doesn't sound like much by itself, but it's actually super revealing about the kind of brotherhood we're talking about here. See, a 3.8 means the bond is pretty tame, and it's grounded in real, genuine friendship. It's that bromance level. We're talking deep conversations, actual mutual support, not screaming and chest bumping. It's an authentic connection that completely sidesteps that aggressive locker room style vibe you see elsewhere. Okay. We've hit the history, the career stuff, the social scene, and the brotherhood. It's time to pull it all together. Let's get to the final verdict. So, after you weigh everything, the history, the network, the lifestyle, what's the final call? The overall score from the source comes in at 52 out of 100. It's almost perfectly mathematically average, and that alone tells you a ton. It's not a powerhouse, but it's definitely not a dud. It just confirms everything we've been talking about. This fraternity is built for a very, very specific person, and it really just boils down to a clear list of trade-offs. The pros are huge. You're part of America's oldest fraternity, and you get this tight-knit intellectual brotherhood. The cons are just as clear. The party scene is limited, the rep is pretty subdued, and the network is niche. It's a very specific package. So, who is this place actually for? Simple. It's for the intellectual misfit. The person who'd rather have a deep conversation than play beer pong. The person who actually gets a kick out of that legacy pride. If that sounds like you, then yeah, this might just be your spot. But if you were chasing that movie fantasy, you want the giant parties, you want the easy social cred, you need to look somewhere else. Seriously. Because you'll be waiting for a version of KA that just isn't real. And that really leaves us with one last question. And this one's for you to think about. Forget all the scores and the stereotypes for a second. Just ask yourself, is this your style? Is being an intellectual misfit with a touch of legacy pride the vibe you're actually going for? Your answer to that question, well, it tells you everything you need to know.
From the halls of Union proud we stand, with minds ignited, strong and grand. Books in hand we shape our fate, honor bound, together we create. New York Alpha, raise the banner high. Kappa Alpha, together we'll fly. Lead with honor, live for life we rise. New York Alpha, first to light the sky.